Many Overwatch heroes have had their differences in the lore. We've seen in animated shorts heroes fighting each other, in the comics heroes fight each other, but it seems like a lot of them go unresolved. That's why we're going to take these heroes, look at their lore, look at their powers and abilities, and pin them against each other in a battle to the death. We're going to see which hero would win in a fight using everything we know from the lore. Our first lore battle is between Winston and Reaper. These two have had major differences in the past, fighting in two of Overwatch's animated shorts. Let's start off the video by taking a look at their backgrounds to get a good idea of what these heroes are capable of and what made them who they are. Gabriel Reyes is a former soldier and member of Blackwatch who was genetically engineered and enhanced in the same program that engineered and enhanced Soldier 76. The two actually worked side by side with each other for quite some time in Overwatch. However, differences between the two and power struggles caused them to dislike each other. And one day, Gabriel tried to overthrow Morrison, a giant fight broke out, and in the end, there was a large explosion that was said to take the lives of both of them. In the end, though, neither of them actually died, or at least they didn't stay dead if they were previously. The interesting thing to note here is that Soldier 76 came back as a normal person. Maybe he never died, maybe he was healed up properly. It's really unknown. However, what is known is that Gabriel Reyes did not come back the same way he was before. He came back as Reaper. Because of this event, he had gained immense abilities and powers that really differentiated him from anyone else in the world at the time. It's been speculated that Mercy is the one that actually did this to him. Between in-game voice interactions and the fact that Mercy was working on her revival tech at the time, it's not entirely unlikely that Mercy tried to revive Gabriel and did so unsuccessfully, or only half successfully, turning him into the monster he became. His abilities were truly superhuman. He regenerates from wounds extremely quickly, similar to the healing factor present in Marvel characters Wolverine and Deadpool. He also has the ability to seemingly transform into a smoke-like substance, which makes him practically invulnerable, also granting him extreme mobility. He can even turn just his lower portion of his body, his legs, down into the smoke and hover around and basically fly around at high speeds around his foes. He often moves so quickly it may seem like he is teleporting. However, we don't actually know if it's really teleporting or him just using Wraith form and moving extremely quickly. Regardless, though, it doesn't really matter because from a practical standpoint, it looks like he can teleport. His weapons are his dual Hellfire shotguns, which he never reloads because he has a seemingly infinite amount of them in his pockets. In the lore, he also has the ability to fire explosive rounds, and his ultimate move, Death Blossom, has an extremely long range, much further than is actually shown in-game, and it kind of turns his shotguns into longer range weapons. At this point in time, we have yet to see any true weaknesses for Reaper, other than his lack of long-range weapons. However, his mobility makes up for this. So in short, Reaper boasts extreme mobility, evasiveness, and regenerative capabilities, as well as extreme firepower at close to medium ranges. He lacks damage at range, but makes up for it with his mobility. Let's now move on and talk about the challenger for today's video, Winston. Winston is a hyper-intelligent gorilla who was raised by scientists. He was actually genetically engineered to be as smart as he is. He wasn't the only smart gorilla though. He was actually raised in the Horizon lunar colony in space, where there were a lot of genetically engineered gorillas being trained and raised by scientists. However, in true Rise of the Planet of the Apes style, the gorillas went crazy and killed all of the human scientists. Winston did not agree with this, did not want to be a part of this, so he escaped from the moon back to Earth and found a home with Overwatch. Here he had a number of great accomplishments. For one, he designed the Chronal Accelerator, which is what allows Tracer to stay tethered at one place in time. Otherwise, she kind of just floats through the time stream and can't control where she is. And he also defeated one of the Doomfist gauntlet wielders, the past Doomfist, which is actually a pretty big feat considering the guy was said to be able to level skyscrapers. So Winston is no pushover. Winston is also a brilliant engineer. engineer. We already talked about how he's made some of Tracer's technology, but he's also made the shield barrier he uses in-game and his suit of armor, which is extremely durable. We actually see this suit of armor shedding off shots from Reaper and Widowmaker without sustaining much damage at all in the Overwatch cinematic trailer. Winston is also incredibly physically fit, boasting both high mobility and strength. He is capable of climbing many types of terrain and can leap extremely large distances with the help of his jump pack that he wears on his back. Strength-wise, he is a gorilla, so his muscles are designed for raw power and not precise movements like humans. This means his strength rivals and likely surpasses Reinhardt's and Zarya's. Winston is excellent at thinking on the spot and also has a Super Saiyan mode when he gets excessively angry. Similar to the Hulk, when Winston gets excessively angry, he gets stronger and faster at the cost of intelligence, potentially. There's no actual way of telling how smart Winston still is when he's angry, but that's not really relevant because when he goes primal rage mode, he gets way stronger and way faster than he was before. His weapon of choice is a Tesla cannon, which fires arcs of electricity at his foes. Unlike in-game, it is speculated that the Tesla cannon is actually very powerful and can incapacitate enemies very quickly. So in short, Winston boasts the physical prowess of a gorilla with his strength and speed, while also having hyper-intelligence because of his genetic engineering, making him an excellent strategist on the battlefield. Now, it would be stupid to consider a fight between these two without first looking at their previous encounters. We're going to be looking at two of them, the Overwatch cinematic trailer and the Recall animated short, because they both actually fight in these. In the first, the Overwatch cinematic trailer, Reaper's shots seem to barely harm Winston, if at all. Honestly, they don't seem to do much to him. However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Winston is never fast enough to harm Reaper before he vanishes into the shadows. Every time Winston jumped on Reaper to grab him, he disappeared into smoke, and every time Winston ever even got close to him, he'd back up and avoid him entirely. In the Recall animated short, however, Reaper's Hellfire shotguns greatly incapacitate Winston. Only a few shots and he is down on the ground and can't really do too much. However, Reaper's downfall is that he gets cocky and underestimates Winston, and Winston eventually gets up and fries him with his Tesla cannon, which immediately disintegrates Reaper. At first, you may think this kills Reaper. However, at the end of the animated short, after the closing screen, you can actually see a little bit of smoke leaving Winston's facility, and we also see Reaper back in the animated shorts that followed, so we know it didn't kill him. And it didn't seem to harm him at all, because when he comes back, he behaves perfectly normally. Well, normally for him, not normally like a regular person, because he's killing people, but regardless, he acts like he's in perfect physical shape, so it's safe to assume his regeneration powers are truly astounding. The outcome of the Overwatch cinematic trailer was similar. Reaper ends up losing to Winston. However, this time it's because Tracer disarms Widowmaker and she is unable to fight for herself, and in the end, Reaper just sees the fight as an uphill battle and backs out to fight it another day, presumably. So who would win in a battle to the death? I'll give you my answer and explain it, but I'll also pin a vote down in the comments to see what you all really think. My pick, though, is Reaper. His mobility is insane, and he seems pretty unkillable based on the current lore. If we take a look back to the most recent animated short featuring Sombra, Reaper also manages to kill, presumably, multiple armed mech units in Volskaya Industries. These mechs were giant and featured state-of-the-art shielding technology as well as particle cannons which deal a lot of damage. Yet, Reaper seems to walk out of the fight unharmed. With this in mind, and the fact that Reaper was able to harm Winston in the animated short Recall, I think Winston would eventually fall in a drawn-out fight. Reaper's survivability would outlast Winston by a long shot. Don't get me wrong, I think Winston would put up a fight because he's done so and he's shown that he can definitely hold his own. But in the end, my vote is Reaper. Remember, this is a battle to the death, and when you're fighting death himself, I don't think there's a way you can really win. Be sure to leave your vote down below, though, because I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you think Winston's the winner, be sure to tell me why, because that could make for some very fun discussions. But this is my vote for now. Be sure to suggest future lore battles as well. Some I thought would be cool include Hanzo versus Genji, as well as Tracer versus Widowmaker. Regardless, I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you click on the video you see on screen right now. It's a very special video that I put out that was definitely not picked by an algorithm on YouTube that basically states that it's the best video for you to watch, and I'm definitely not stalling out for these last 20 seconds to get the video to 10 minutes because like it was really close. Anyway, have a good one everyone. I'll see you guys all later. Lone Hawk out.